Alright, so I'm going to make a quick video that completely puts to rest the belief that the first beast in Revelation 13 is Antichrist. So there's two beasts in Revelation 13, both in verses 1 and in verses 11. And in verse 1 it says, "And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy." So a lot of people look at this, and then they look at Revelation 12, verse 3, where it describes the dragon as having 10 horns, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and they believe that that's the Antichrist. "And behold, a great red dragon, which we know is Satan, having 7 heads and 10 horns." This is in Revelation 12, verse 3. So in Revelation 13, they take this and they combine it and they say, see, that's because he is Satan incarnate. Now I agree, the Antichrist will be Satan incarnate. That's what Isaiah 14 says, that's what multiple other locations in the Bible state. But I don't believe the first beast is Antichrist. And notice, it rises out of the sea. And saw a beast rise up out of the sea. Now if we go down to verse 11, "And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth." So this is in contrast to the first beast. This one comes out of the earth. Adam also came out of the earth. That's where man comes from. "And he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon." So he spoke as a dragon. He spoke like Satan. But he had 2 horns like a lamb because he was impersonating Jesus Christ. This second beast is Antichrist. He's a man that comes out of the earth like men do, and he's impersonating Jesus Christ, but he has the mouth of a dragon. Up here, the beast rises out of the sea. That is the sea of Islamic nations. The first beast is not a human being. If we go to Revelation 17, verse 8 says, "The beast that thou sawest was and is not." Okay, so this is the beast upon which the harlot is sitting, Mystery Babylon, which is Mecca, Saudi Arabia, and I've shown another video on that. If you'd like, go and watch that. I'll post a link in the description of that video, or you can go on to my End Times playlist and find that video. It says, "The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit." Now that's hell. And it's not just coming out of hell, which is impossible in and of itself, but it's ascending out of hell. "The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder." Now I've seen it said multiple times that the Antichrist is going to die and then come back to life. That's not true, and that's not going to happen, because this verse has to fit in with all of that too. So basically, according to, I'm going to call it mainstream theology because that's what it is. I've heard multiple pastors state this, that basically it just doesn't make sense. If a human goes to hell, they're going to stay in hell. The only person that has ever ascended out of the bottomless pit is Jesus Christ. Acts 2:27, Psalm 16, verse 10. Jesus Christ is the only one that went to hell and came out of hell, because it was not possible that he should be holden of it. He overcame sin, the world, death, and he conquered hell itself. So we have 2 options. If the first beast, is in fact a human being. "The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit." And Jesus Christ has the keys of hell and of death. So, number one, this beast also has that power over hell and death, and has the keys. He doesn't. That's not possible. He didn't overcome the world. He's not. Jesus has those keys. He's not going to give them to the enemy. And which leads me into my second theory, or possibility, that if the first beast is a human being, then then Jesus is helping Antichrist, which is also not true. So therefore, logically, we must conclude that the first beast is not a human being, because if it was, it could not ascend out of the bottomless pit. A human being is not going to ascend out of the bottomless pit. Only Jesus Christ is going to ascend out of the bottomless pit. The word ascend, ascension, rising above something due to worth. You're worthy. You've overcome that thing. Jesus ascended to heaven because he overcame the world. He ascended out of hell because he overcame hell. This beast is ascending out of the bottomless pit, not because it conquered hell, but because it's being brought back from death. And of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. So these 10 horns are the 10 kings. They're 10 Iranian or Median Islamic kings. Again, see my Mystery Babylon video for more information about that. These 7 heads are the 7 empires, or the 7 kingdoms, that this beast was a part of. And it died. The 7th head it died, and it went into hell. It was a fatal head wound. It was dead. It was wounded with the sword. It says, and there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. Now, those 5 that are fallen are Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Medo-Persia, and Greece. And 1 is. That is Rome. Rome was the dominant pagan superpower at that time. And in fact, all 6 of the kingdoms that I just mentioned all have one thing in common, and that is that they were dominant superpower kingdoms that were also worshiping a plurality of gods. And the other is not yet come. So what is the 7th pagan kingdom? Well, every one of those kingdoms was defeated by the next kingdom. Egypt was beaten by Assyria. Assyria was defeated by Babylon. Babylon was defeated by Darius of Medo-Persia. Then Alexander the Great defeated them. Greece, Rome. Rome conquered them, but who conquered Rome? The Ottoman Turks conquered Rome. So when it says, and the other is not yet come, that's talking about the Ottoman Turks. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. Okay. The Ottoman Empire existed up till the 1900s. This is the land that had the sultans. They had the Caliphate, the Caliph, the Caliphate. And that is exactly what the beast is, the Caliphate system. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. It says, and the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. Now people think that it's Rome, Italy. It's not Rome. Because Rome's not in a desert. Verse 3 says, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness. Revelation 13:1 says, and I stood upon the sand of the sea. They're in a desert. This beast had a fatal wound by the sword and did live. Let me find that verse quick. And so this is talking about, again, we're after verse 11, this is the second beast, and it says, "And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast," in the sight of the Ottoman Empire, in the sight of the Caliph, the Caliphate, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. So he was put to death. It was a fatal head wound. And if you read the book of Revelation, this will be clear to you. He was completely put to death. The first beast died, and it was wounded by a sword. That sword is the sword of World War I, which is what completely killed the beast. The Ottoman Empire's land was partitioned in 1918 after the war ended in 1913, and the Ottoman Empire completely dismantled. Also, we know that the second beast, "And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon, and he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast." That's Islam. That's the Caliphate, whose deadly wound was healed. "And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men." Very much similar to Elijah. "And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had a wound by a sword and did live." So this is actually the Antichrist, and it's proven by 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. It says, "For the mystery of iniquity doth already work, and only he who now letteth will let." And when the King James Bible uses the word let, it means prevent or prohibit. It actually means the opposite of what it means today, because the English language changes a little bit, but God's word does not change. "Until he be taken out of the way, and then shall that wicked be revealed." Now that's a capital W. That's Antichrist, "whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Even him," that's that wicked again, we're still on that topic, "whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved." So according to 2 Thessalonians verses 8 through 10, Antichrist is the one that has the power to do these miracles. But in Revelation 13 it says the false prophet, which came out of the earth, which means he's a man, he had 2 horns like a lamb, because he's imitating Jesus Christ. And in verse 3 it says, "And that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped." So anti means against or in place of. So it actually means both. So not only is he opposing the believers and opposing Jesus Christ, he's exalting himself above Jesus Christ. So he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon, because he has the mouth of Satan, because this is Satan incarnate, who has all authority over these demons, and they're doing his bidding so that they can deceive all of these people on earth. Now I want to touch a little bit of, now that we're in 2 Thessalonians 2, "who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God." And a lot of people think that, okay, well, this is the Abomination of Desolation, because that's what the Abomination of Desolation does. It's in the temple. Also in the temple of God. But the thing about that is that there's a difference between sitting and standing. So that he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Now let's look at the times that Abomination of Desolation is mentioned. Well, first we'll go to the New Testament. So, in Matthew 24, it says in verse 15, "When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand." Stand in the holy place. Sitteth in the temple of God. That's not the same thing. Okay, well, maybe he stands and sits. Maybe he stood up and was standing before he sat down. Alright, well, let's examine a little bit more about this. He said, spoken of by Daniel the prophet. Okay, well, let's see what Daniel had to say about it. So, we're going to read a little bit of Daniel 11. So, there's a few kings of the north that come up. So the king of the north shall come, and all these other kings of the north. And by the way, Rome is north of nothing except for the Mediterranean Sea. So there's no land masses below that except for Africa, which is over the sea. This king of the north, I believe personally, will come out of Turkey. The Garden of Eden was located in Turkey. The 7 churches in Asia are in Asia Minor, which is in Grecia, Western Turkey. Go onto a map and type in Laodicea, Smyrna, Thyatira, Ephesus. I'm not Ephesus. Oh yeah, I think Ephesus, yeah, was one of them. Anyway, the 7 churches, look up where they're located. They're all located in Western Turkey, which was it was the Roman province of Asia Minor, which was Grecia, Turkey. So, it says right here, and in his estate. So one of these other kings died. I don't believe that the Antichrist will be the Caliph. He will not be the first or second Caliph. He might be the second, third, or fourth Caliph. I don't know. But I do know that he's going to point to the first beast. Meaning he's going to point to Islam as the religion that is going to bring salvation. And in his estate shall stand up a vile person. So this is Antichrist. Daniel 11:21 is Antichrist coming on the scene. To whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom, but he shall come in peaceably and obtain the kingdom by flatteries. And with the arms of a flood shall they be overflown from before him, and shall be broken, yea, also the prince of the covenant. So there's no doubt about it. This is Antichrist. He's going after Jesus, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God. And after the league made with him, he shall work deceitfully. This is the same thing as Daniel 9:27, the covenant for a week. They're going to make a covenant, but in the middle of it, Antichrist is going to break it. You're going to see a treaty between Turkey and Israel, and it's going to be broken. It might not be Turkey. I believe that it might be this league. It could be between Palestine and Hamas with Israel, which is more likely. But either way, it's going to be some sort of Islamic representation, Islamic leadership that makes a covenant with Israel. which is also mentioned in Isaiah 28. Isaiah 28 talks about the Rothschilds and the Jewish leadership to the letter in terms of the end times, because they're the ones causing all of this, and they think that they're just going to escape. They're perpetuating Islam and fueling Islam, and they think that they're just going to get away with it, but the Antichrist is going after them too. And after the league made with him, he shall work deceitfully, for he shall come up and shall become strong with a small people. He shall enter peaceably, even unto the fattest places of the province, and he shall do that which his fathers have not done, nor his fathers' fathers. He shall scatter among them the prey, and spoil, and riches, yea, and he shall forecast his devices against the strongholds, even for a time. And he shall stir up his power and his courage against the king of the south, with a great army, and the king of the south shall be stirred up to battle with a very great army, great and mighty army. Now, I believe that this is a reference to Daniel chapter 8. Now, Daniel 8 was talking about Alexander the Great and Darius, because it was dual prophecy. But if you read it in its context, the angel Gabriel said that it was for the time of the end. That battle happened in 300 BC. So that wasn't the time of the end. So Grecia, Turkey, coming against Medo-Persia, Iran, is going to be something that happens in the end of the world, where you have Shia versus Sufi or Sunni Islam going against one another. Maybe the Ayatollah versus the Caliphate. I'm not entirely sure. But it says, but he shall not stand, for they shall forecast devices against him. Yea, they that feed of the portion of his meat shall destroy him, and his army shall overflow, and many shall fall down slain. And both of these kings' hearts shall be to do mischief, and they shall speak lies at one table, but it shall not prosper, for yet the end shall be at the time appointed. Then shall he return into his land with great riches, and his heart shall be against the holy covenant. So again, there's no doubt about it. This is Antichrist. And he shall do exploits, and return to his own land. At the time appointed he shall return, and come toward the south, but it shall not be as the former, or as the latter. For the ships of Chittim, that's Cyprus. Why would the ships of Cyprus come against him? Well, it could be that Turkey, which is right on that landmass, is trying to stop them from coming into Egypt or Israel. I'm not sure, but I do know that that means Cyprus. For the ships of Chittim shall come against him. Therefore he shall be grieved, and return, and have indignation against the holy covenant. So shall he do. He shall even return and have intelligence with them that forsake the holy covenant. So he's mad. He could not do what he wanted to do. So he went back, and now he's exchanging intelligence with these people who also hate Christians and hate the Bible. They hate God. They hate God's word. And this is all of that to say this verse. And arms shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength. I believe that that will be the rebuilt temple, and shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate. And people still think that that is Antichrist, but it says, and such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries, but the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits. Now, people think that everything after this verse is talking about the abomination of desolation. It's been talking about the king of the north ever since verse 21. This vile person. This is Antichrist. And this abomination of desolation is, I believe, the image of the beast, which has power to both speak and to kill those that do not worship it. So we have, what do we have here? We have the abomination of desolation standing. We have it placed. And there's one other time that it's used. And it says in Daniel chapter 12, verse 11, and from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that maketh desolate set up, there shall be 1,290 days. That's 3.5 years. Right there is your tribulation period. Because at this moment, that's when the tribulation begins. And there's multiple things in the Bible that indicate that. I could do a video on that if that's what you'd like. But I wanted to point out that it's set up. The abomination of desolation is not a human being. It's an object. It's the image of the beast. It's placed. Matthew 24 says that it stands. Daniel 11:31 says that it's placed. Matthew 24:15, it stands. Daniel 12:11, it's set up. Stands, is placed, and is set up. I place a TV. I can stand a TV. I set up a TV. I mean, you can set up a person in power. You can place a person in power. You can stand a person in power, but that's too much of a stretch. The abomination of desolation, I personally believe, will be the thing to which everyone gets the mark. Everyone wants the mark of the beast, which is going to connect you to the image of the beast, which you actually obtain the mark by worshiping this image, this abomination of desolation. I believe that this abomination of desolation will be the marriage, the ungodly marriage between the absolute pinnacle and human threshold of technological advance. It will be technology at its absolute top, as well as bioengineering at its top. I believe that this, and I might be wrong. A lot of people think that it's aliens and stuff. I think that that's silly. The abomination of desolation, in my personal opinion, will be a 100% man, 100% machine. In the same way that Jesus Christ is 100% man and 100% God, he, being found in the likeness of man, caused us and gave us the ability to bring us back to God, who he also was. So this abomination of desolation, this mark of the beast, the mark of the beast is similar to the Holy Spirit. It's the exact opposite. It seals you, not with life, but with death. And it links you to machinery, the same way that Jesus links us to God. Anyone that takes that mark cannot be saved. Now, if you're a true believer in Jesus Christ, you cannot take that mark. If you have everlasting life, then you have everlasting life. You cannot go to hell for any reason. And we know that anyone who takes that mark, there will be neither rest day nor night. They will burn in hell forever. So, therefore, we, again, logically must conclude that anyone that's truly saved cannot take that mark. So that's my take on the abomination of desolation and the Antichrist and the first beast. Now, just to touch, my last point here will be this. In Daniel 2, he has this dream. Nebuchadnezzar has this dream. And he sees this great big statue. The image's head was of fine gold. That's Babylon. His breast and his arms of silver. That's Medo-Persia. His belly and his thighs of brass. Rome. No, I'm sorry. So we've got Babylon, we've got Medo-Persia, and then we have Greece. And then the legs of iron is Rome. Or you can also call it the Western nations. But his feet are it's not going to be a revived Roman Empire. It's the Roman Empire that's still here, essentially. It's not a pagan kingdom, but it is the Western nations. His feet are part of iron, so they have part of the rule of law, part of us, the western nations, and part of clay. Thou sawest, okay, so then let's go down here. And the fourth kingdom shall be as strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces, and subdueth all things. And as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron. So they're going to have the military might of the western nations. For as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. That is happening right now in America, throughout Europe, throughout the entire world, with this Trojan horse, false refugee crisis. They shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. That is talking about the seed of the serpent. These Muslims, which are bringing their religion, they're bringing their hatred, their violence, their jihad, and they're mingling themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. That's what that is talking about. We are 100% living in the end of the world, and it's coming fast. People need to keep watch. Revelation 6, and this will actually be the last thing that I touch on. And I saw and behold a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. I believe that that's George Bush. The war in Iraq, the war in Afghanistan, all of that. He upset the Middle East. He removed Saddam Hussein from power, and Iran basically took over the region. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, Come and see. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. That great sword is the American military. That is the FBI, the CIA. That is the American military. This red horse is Barack Obama, Barry Soetoro. And power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. He's taking peace from America through ISIS, the CIA and Mossad syndicate. He's taken peace from the Middle East as well, and that they should kill one another. That has not happened in its fullness. This has not yet been completed, but I personally don't believe that we will see a 2016 election. I hope we do, but I don't know what's going to happen. Things are so fragile and volatile right now that anything could happen. But you need to pay attention, because once this is fulfilled, there's going to be, once the third seal's broken, and I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand, and I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say. So first of all, these balances: equality, tolerance, tolerate everybody, just tolerate everybody. If they want to marry a tree, let them marry a tree. If they want to make out with a dog, if they want to commit bestiality, if they want to marry their cousin, if they want to marry their own children, I mean, who are you to judge? Don't judge. Don't judge. Let's just be tolerant of everybody. It's a satanic lie from the pits of hell. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil or the wine. Now, a penny in this time had a lot more value, but basically a penny was a day's work. So what this is saying is a measure of wheat for a day's work. So you work a day to get the food for a day. And it says, "And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine." It's just the angels being facetious here, because the rich people are basically riding on the backs of slave labor, debt slavery. Don't hurt the oil or the wine, don't hurt the dainties, don't hurt the luxurious items of the rich, while humanity is starving. There's never been a more important time in history for people to read the Bible. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by Him, and without Him was not anything made that was made. That's the Bible, but that's also Jesus Christ. This Bible is Jesus Christ, not the book, not the paper, not the ink. The words of that book are Jesus Christ. You're literally reading the DNA of God when you read the King James Bible. Now, if you have another language, there's another language. God has preserved His word in all languages. He's not the author of confusion. So, these other Bible versions, I don't really want to get on that topic. I can make a video about that if it's requested in the comments, but there you have it. God bless.